Okay, let's get into it. So I want you to picture this. It's 1982. You walk into a bookstore, one of those old B. Dalton or Walden Books places.
Oh, I remember those. The smell of paper.
Exactly. And you're in the mystery section. You see all the usual stuff, the hard-boiled guys in trench coats on the covers, Agatha Christie reprints. But then you see this one hardcover, and the title is just, it's stark, it's simple, and it's so ambitious. A is for Alibi.
And you're just standing there. You have no idea what you're looking at.
None. You don't know that you're looking at the first brick in a literary monument that is going to take decades to build.
A monument built on, well, a foundation of rage, a lot of poison, and a very specific kind of California sunshine. It really is a landmark.
It is.
When we look at mystery novels today, we totally take for granted that there are these confident, complex female detectives. They're everywhere. It's a staple of the genre now.
100%.
But back in 1982, that landscape looked very, very different. This book, it didn't just kick off a series. It introduced us to Kinsey Millhone, a character who I think really did redefine the female detective trope.
Oh, she absolutely did. And honestly, just the title itself starting with A,
Yep.
It implies this promise, doesn't it?
It's just audacious.
It's so audacious. It's saying, hey, I'm not just writing one book. I'm starting a project that's going to take me the rest of my life.
It is. It's a huge commitment right out of the gate. It suggests an order, a sequence. It's telling the reader, stick with me. We've got a long, long way to go.
And, tragically, she did. She got all the way to Y before she passed away.
Yeah.
But today, we're going all the way back to the beginning. We're going to look at A.
The first step.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack everything about this debut. We've got our sources, and we're mainly leaning on the comprehensive Wikipedia entry for the novel. It gives us the plot, the publication history, all the critical analysis.
It's a map for our journey.
Yeah. But we're going to go deeper than just a summary. We're going to explore the really intricate and frankly kind of messy plot. We'll look at the critical reception, which, spoiler alert, wasn't exactly a standing ovation at first.
Which is so fascinating to look back on now, isn't it? Considering the legacy.
It's wild. And maybe the most interesting part, we're going to dig into this surprisingly dark origin story of this book. Because, and I didn't know this until I started prepping, this book wasn't just born out of wanting to write a good mystery. It was born out of pure rage.
That's a very polite way to put it. It was born out of a specific, very targeted, visceral anger.
Okay, so let's just dive right into that. The origin story, I guess you could call it A, is for anger.
Oh, A is definitely for anger in this case. So the source material points out this really crucial piece of context. When Sue Grafton was writing A is for Alibi, she wasn't, sitting in some cozy cottage sipping tea and dreaming up puzzles.
No.
She was going through a divorce. And it was not an amicable, let's stay friends kind of divorce. It was a 6-year custody battle. I mean, it was a war.
The quote in the source is, it's just incredible. She admitted that she would, and I'm quoting here, lie in bed at night thinking of ways to kill him, her husband. That is intense.
It's so visceral, right? But think about the psychology of that. You're feeling powerless. You're in this legal system that's just grinding you down. You are so angry, but you're a civilized person, so you can't, act on that anger in the real world. So what do?
You write a book where someone gets away with it. Or at least tries to.
Exactly. It's a classic case of sublimation. You take this intense real-world emotion, this rage, and you channel it. You pour it into fiction. She was very open about the fact that the story came directly from these fantasies. So instead of actually committing a crime, she created this whole universe where she could solve them. Or, in a way, commit them on paper and get away with it.
It gives a whole new meaning to that old advice, write what you know. She knew exactly what it felt like to want someone dead.
And it adds this layer of grit to the story that just feels so authentic. When Kinsey Millhone, the main character, is talking about cynical relationships or the dark side of people, the messiness of divorce, that's not just a writer trying to sound noir.
Right.
That's Sue Grafton processing her own reality. It's basically therapy, but with a page count.
So there's this shadow of the ex-husband, but there's another man who had a massive influence on this book, but in a totally different way. We have to talk about her father, Chip Grafton.
Yeah, and this is the really heartbreaking part of the whole origin story. If the ex-husband provided let's say, the fuel for the plot, her father provided the map for the career.
The book is dedicated to him.
It is. The dedication says, who set me on this path?
And he wasn't just, a dad who happened to like books. He was in the game himself, right?
Oh, yeah, he was in it. Chip Grafton was a municipal bond attorney in Kentucky during the day, which sounds incredibly dry.
Very dry.
But by night, he was a crime novelist. He had a whole secondary career writing mysteries. And he actually won some minor acclaim for 4 novels he wrote. So Sue Grafton grew up watching this happen. She saw the craft of mystery writing being practiced in her own home. She saw that you could have a day job and still create these incredible worlds.
I mean, talk about following in your father's footsteps. It must have been such a huge way for them to connect.
Absolutely. But this is where the tragedy comes in. The source notes that Chip Grafton died on January 31st, 1982. He was 72.
Okay, wait, let me check the timeline again. When is for Alibi published?
April 15th, 1982.
Oh, wow. That just hits you right in the chest.
It does. 4 months. He died just 4 months before his daughter's debut novel. The book that was going to turn their family name into this global brand hit the shelves.
That is just devastating. I mean, he obviously knew she was writing it. He probably read drafts, but he never saw the finished book. He never held it.
Never saw the reviews. Never saw the success.
He never saw the phenomenon that it became. He never saw B or C or D.
Never. And I think that adds such a poignancy to the book. You've got this rage from the divorce fueling the plot, but then you have this beautiful, sad tribute to a lost father fueling the actual career path. It's a very heavy emotional cocktail for a debut novel.
It is.
It's not just some commercial product. It's this vessel for her grief and her anger.
Knowing that completely reframes the experience of reading it. It makes the stakes feel so much higher. Okay, so let's shift from the author to the character she created. Let's talk about Kinsey Millhone.
The icon herself.
The icon. So the source describes her as a private detective, independent, tough, and the whole book is written as a first-person report. It's not some narrator looking down from above. It's Kinsey talking directly to us. Why is that choice, the I voice, so important here?
That first-person perspective is it's everything. It creates this immediate intimacy. We're not just watching Kinsey. We are Kinsey. We're seeing the world through her cynical, super observant eyes. The source references this critical work, Jesus for Grafton, which describes her tone as laconic, breezy, wisecracking.
Laconic and wisecracking. I love that combination. It sounds very Bogart, you know. But she's a woman in the 80s.
It does. And we have to remember the context of the genre here. This is hard-boiled detective fiction. And historically, who lives in that genre?
Chance Spade.
Yeah.
Philip Marlowe. You know, gritty guys in trench coats, smoking, drinking whiskey. And there's always a dame who walks into the office and spells trouble.
Exactly. It was a completely male-dominated space. Women in hard-boiled novels, they were usually either the damsels in distress or the femme fatale.
They were objects.
They were objects, not agents. They were there to be saved or to be slept with or to trick the hero. Kinsey Millhone just walked right into that space and claimed it. She wasn't a girl detective like Nancy Drew. She wasn't some teenager solving fun puzzles.
And she wasn't a cozy amateur sleuth like Miss Marple either.
Not at all. No knitting and solving crimes in a cute little village. She was a professional.
That's a huge distinction. She charges a daily rate. She actually worries about paying her bills.
Right. She carried a gun. Her love life was a mess. She lived in a converted garage apartment. She cut her own hair with nail scissors because she didn't want to waste money on a salon.
I love that detail about the nail scissors. It tells you everything you need to know about her vanity or, you know, her lack of it. She's all about function.
Exactly. She ate peanut butter and pickle sandwiches. She was just unapologetically pragmatic, and that functionality was revolutionary. She wasn't trying to be one of the boys, but she wasn't performing femininity either. She was just doing her job.
Now, she does her job in a very specific place. The book is set in Santa Teresa.
Which sounds lovely, right? A nice place to retire.
It does. But, as our source points out, Santa Teresa is a fictional city in Southern California. It's a stand-in for Santa Barbara.
Which is where Sue Grafton actually lived.
Exactly. And using a stand-in city like that, it's such a clever move. It lets you use the whole atmosphere of a real place. You get the ocean, the wealth, that specific California vibe, the fog rolling in.
But you can move streets around. You can invent buildings.
Yeah. And most importantly, you can fill it with a statistically improbable number of murders without the local tourism board getting too upset with you.
Come to Santa Barbara. Please ignore the ever-increasing murder rate.
Exactly. It creates a whole universe. Santa Teresa becomes a character in itself. It's sun-drenched, but there are these long, dark shadows.
That's what people call sunshine noir. It's not the dark, rainy streets of London or the grimy alleys of New York. It's bright sunshine, blue ocean, jogging trails, and poison.
That contrast is so effective. Evil doesn't just happen in the dark. It happens in these beautiful villas with amazing ocean views.
Right.
So we have the detective, we have the setting. Now, let's get into the case itself, because this plot, boy, does it have layers. It starts, as all good detective stories do, with a client.
Enter Nikki Fife.
So Nikki Fife, she has just been released from prison. She served 8 years. What was she in for?
She was convicted of killing her husband, Laurence Fife.
And Laurence was, let me guess, not a great guy.
Well, he was a prominent divorce lawyer. And in the world of noir, prominent divorce lawyer is basically shorthand for a guy with a lot of enemies.
And let's not forget our origin story. The prominent divorce lawyer as the victim. I wonder where Grafton got that idea from.
It's not exactly subtle, is it?
Not at all. It's the ex-husband avatar getting killed right there on page 1.
It really is. So Nikki's out. She served her time, but she swears she didn't do it. She claims she was framed or just wrongly convicted. So she hires Kinsey to find the real killer and finally clear her name.
It's a classic cold case setup. The trail is 8 years old.
Which is a complete nightmare for a detective. I mean, physical evidence is gone, witnesses have moved away, or maybe they've died, memories have faded, or they've been rewritten by time. Kinsey is basically digging into ancient history.
Let's talk about how Laurence Fife died.
Yeah.
Because the method of murder it's oddly specific. It's not a gun, it's not a knife.
It is. He was poisoned, but not with arsenic or cyanide, the usual suspects. He was killed using oleander.
Oleander.
That's a flower, right?
Good plant.
Yeah, it's a very common ornamental shrub, especially in California. You see it growing everywhere along highways and in people's gardens. It has these beautiful pink or white flowers.
But it's poisonous.
Every single part of the plant is highly toxic.
So someone didn't just go out and buy poison, they made it.
That's the implication. The killer took these poisonous oleander capsules and substituted them for his allergy pills. So it wasn't just, poison in the soup. It was a capsule swap.
That is incredibly intimate.
It is. Just think about what that requires. You have to be able to get into their private bathroom. You have to open their medicine cabinet. You have to handle their pill bottle. You have to prepare the capsules so they look exactly like the real medication.
It suggests someone who lived with him. Or at least someone who had unrestricted access to his most private spaces.
Which is why the wife, Nikki, was the perfect suspect. The police looked at that level of intimacy and just said, it has to be her.
It makes sense. So Kinsey takes the job. She starts poking around the ashes of this 8-year-old fire. And pretty quickly, she runs into a man named Charlie Scorsoni. Who is he?
Charlie Scorsoni was Laurence Fife's former law partner.
Okay, so he's successful. He's connected to the victim. And Kinsey, being the ultimate professional, she maintains a strict professional distance from him, right?
Oh, not exactly. This is where Kinsey reveals she's flawed. She gets involved with Charlie.
Involved.
A romantic entanglement. They start sleeping together, which, again, is a staple of the hard-boiled genre, the detective getting too close to the case.
Right, but usually it's the male detective falling for the femme fatale.
Exactly. And Grafton just flips it. Kinsey is the one who has to navigate this attraction while trying to solve the murder.
That complicates things massively. I mean, is she sleeping with a witness, a suspect, a friend, an enemy?
Exactly. It blurs all the lines, and it makes her vulnerable. She's letting someone inside her defenses, which is dangerous in her line of work.
So while she's getting cozy with the law partner, the investigation starts to expand. She finds a link to another death.
This is the big breakthrough. She discovers that a woman in Los Angeles, the law firm's accountant, Libby Glass, also died around the same time as Laurence Fife.
And let me guess. Oleander.
Oleander capsules substituted for her pills.
Wow. Okay, so that's a signature. That's not a coincidence. That connects the two deaths definitively.
Right. Lightning doesn't strike twice like that. This changes everything. Because if Nikki Fife was in prison or dealing with her husband's murder, did she really have a motive to go all the way to L.A. and kill an accountant?
Probably not.
Or does this suggest some kind of broader conspiracy? It widens the scope from a domestic dispute to something potentially corporate or professional.
So Kinsey starts following this new trail. She tracks down the accountant's parents, her former boyfriend. She's trying to figure out what the accountant knew, why was she a target, and then the investigation takes her to Las Vegas.
She goes to interview a woman named Sharon Napier. This was Laurence Fife's former secretary.
And the secretaries in these novels, they always know where the bodies are buried, sometimes literally.
They see everything, the appointments, the phone calls, all the secrets. So Kinsey drives out to Vegas. She's expecting a pretty standard interview.
But she doesn't get much of a chance to chat, does she?
No, this is where the pacing just kicks into high gear. It goes from this slow burn cold case to a thriller. Sharon Napier is killed just minutes before Kinsey arrives at her door.
Literally minutes. Kinsey basically walks in on the crime scene while it's still fresh.
Exactly.
So the killer isn't just a ghost from the past. The killer is active. The killer is cleaning up loose ends right now.
Exactly. The whole stakes have shifted. It's gone from solving a puzzle to surviving a hunt. Someone knows Kinsey's asking questions, and they are killing anyone who might have the answers.
Okay, so we have a dead lawyer, a dead accountant, and now a dead secretary. And Kinsey is running out of leads. But then we get to the twists. And this book, it seems to have what they call a false solution structure.
It does, which is a very clever structural trick. It gives the reader exactly what they think they want and then pulls the rug out.
It starts with a photograph. Nikki's son, Colin, he sees a photo and he recognizes someone.
He points to a woman in a picture and identifies her as Gwen. And Gwen was Laurence Fife's first wife.
The ex-wife.
The first ex-wife. So now we have this whole geometry problem. You've got Laurence, the victim, the first wife, Gwen, and the second wife, Nikki, who is Kinsey's client.
And Kinsey puts together a theory. She surmises that Gwen was having an affair with Laurence, her ex-husband, at the time of his death.
Which gives us a motive, right? Jealousy, passion, a lover's quarrel gone horribly wrong. Maybe Laurence was going to dump her again for someone new.
So Kinsey confronts Gwen. She lays it all out for her. She accuses her. And what does Gwen do?
She confesses.
Just like that.
She admits to killing Laurence.
Wow. Okay, well, case closed then. Roll the credits. The bad guy or the bad woman is caught.
Well, that's what the reader is supposed to think. Because Gwen confesses, and then, very, very shortly after that, Gwen dies in a hit-and-run crash.
That is convenient.
Extremely convenient. A little too convenient, maybe.
So from the outside, it looks like this clean wrap-up. Nikki, the client, is cleared because Gwen confessed. The killer, Gwen, is dead, so justice of a sort has been served. Kinsey can collect her fee and go home.
But this is a mystery novel, and if you look at the page count, you realize you've still got a good chunk of pages left. A confession that comes that easily, followed by the super convenient death of the confessor. That's a massive red flag.
It's very suspicious. So Kinsey isn't satisfied.
Kinsey starts pulling at this one loose thread, and the realization hits her, the accountant.
Right, the other victim. The woman in L.A.
Gwen's confession covers Laurence Fife. She admitted to killing her ex-husband. Emotionally, that makes sense. But why would Gwen, the first wife, kill the law firm's accountant in Los Angeles? What's the motive there?
The oleander method linked the two murders, but the motive doesn't link them to Gwen.
Exactly. Kinsey realizes her theory about the accountant's death was totally wrong. Gwen didn't kill the accountant.
So who did?
Kinsey digs back into the financials, and she finds out the accountant had discovered something. She'd found someone skimming dividend money from estate accounts.
Embezzlement. The white-collar crime that so often leads to red-blooded murder.
And who had access to those accounts? Who was the partner managing all of that?
Oh, no. Don't say it.
It's Charlie Scorsoni.
The guy Kinsey is sleeping with.
The very same.
Oh, that is cold. That is so cold.
It's the ultimate betrayal. The villain was right there in the bed next to her the whole time.
So let's break this down. Let's break down Scorsoni's whole scheme. This is pretty complex. He was embezzling money. The accountant, Libby Glass, found out about it.
So Scorsoni had to kill the accountant to silence her. But, and this is the really devious part, he knew that Gwen had killed Laurence Fife with oleander. Or at least he figured it out.
Wait, so the source says Scorsoni used the same method Gwen used just to make it look like it was the same killer?
Right. It's a copycat murder, but it's designed to frame someone else. If the accountant dies by oleander, everyone is going to assume it's connected to Laurence Fife's killer, who they think is either Gwen or Nikki. It deflects all suspicion away from the embezzlement and points it directly toward the personal drama of the Fife family.
That is diabolical. He piggybacked on a murder to hide his own murder.
It's incredibly smart. Evil, but smart. It camouflages a financial crime as a crime of passion.
So Kinsey figures all this out. She realizes her boyfriend is a double murderer, and then Scorsoni must realize that she knows.
And that leads us to the final confrontation.
And where does this take place? Not in a grimy alley, I'm guessing.
No, in true California fashion, it all goes down at the beach.
But this is not a romantic walk on the beach at sunset.
Not at all. Scorsoni chases her. He's armed with a knife. He's going to kill her just like he killed the others, or at least silence her permanently.
A knife chase on a beach. That sounds exhausting. I mean, the sand is hard to run in.
It is, and Kinsey has to resort to these desperate tactics. She runs into the ocean, she tries to hide in the shoreline in the waves.
And the source mentions this one specific detail here that really stood out to me. It says she has to remove her shoes and her pants.
Yes. To move in the water and the wet sand, to keep from being weighed down by heavy, wet denim, she strips off her clothing. She takes off her shoes and pants.
There's something so incredibly vulnerable about that image. You're being hunted by a man with a knife, and you are half naked, freezing in the cold Pacific Ocean.
It heightens the tension so much, it just strips away all of the detective armor. She doesn't have her car, she doesn't have her metaphorical trench coat. She's just a human body trying to survive. It's primal.
But she does have one thing.
She has her gun.
She managed to keep the gun dry.
Or at least keep a hold of it.
She has it. And when Scorsoni finally closes in on her, expecting an easy kill.
How does it end?
Before Scorsoni can stab her, Kinsey shoots him dead.
Boom. Just like that.
No rest, no reading him his rights, no trial. He's dead on the beach. What's your take on that resolution? I mean, it's pretty violent for a debut novel.
It is, but it establishes Kinsey's morality and her reality right from the start. She's not a superhero who neatly ties the bad guy up for the police to collect. She survives. And sometimes survival means you have to kill the bad guy.
Right.
It's messy. It also, closes the book on that romance in the most definitive way possible.
Yeah, I Shot My Boyfriend is a pretty final breakup text.
It certainly is. And she feels the weight of it. She doesn't just shrug it off and move on. In the later books, that moment really sticks with her.
Okay, now before we get to the reception of the book, we have to talk about a subplot. Because there is this whole secondary storyline running parallel to all this murder and mayhem, the Marcia Threadgill case.
Right. And this seems totally unconnected at first. Kinsey is doing a surveillance job on a woman named Marcia Threadgill.
It's an insurance fraud case, right? A classic trip and fall.
Exactly. Kinsey gets hired to prove that Marcia is faking an injury just to get a big payout from an insurance company.
And Kinsey is good at her job. She documents the deception, she gets the pictures, the proof. She wins the investigative part of the battle.
She hands this airtight case over to the insurance firm, and she's thinking, okay, job done, fraud exposed, justice will be served.
What?
But the insurance firm pays the claim anyway.
Why? That makes absolutely no sense.
They cite potential legal costs. They say it's actually cheaper to just pay her off, even though they know she is lying, than it is to fight it in court. They also mention the risk of reprisal.
That is so cynical.
It is perfectly cynical, and that is exactly why it is in the book.
Ah, okay. So it's not just filler to pad out the pages.
No, not at all. It serves a huge thematic purpose. It shows the difference between the truth and the system. Kinsey is great at finding the truth, but she can't fix the system. The corporate world is pragmatic, not moral. It just adds this deep layer of noir realism.
I see.
In a cozy mystery, the fraudster would be arrested and the whole village would cheer. In Kinsey's world, the fraudster gets a check because it's better for the company's bottom line.
It really grounds the story, doesn't it? And it reminds us that Kinsey is just working for a paycheck in a world that doesn't always care about right and wrong. It reinforces that she's this individual fighting against a machine that is totally indifferent to her or to justice.
Exactly. It's a very sophisticated theme for a debut mystery novel.
Okay, so the book comes out. It's April 1982. The plot is twisty. The protagonist is fresh. The ending is explosive. It must have been an instant bestseller, right?
Yeah, it's not quite.
Let's look at the actual stats.
The first printing was 7,500 copies.
7,500. That is modest. That's a very small splash in a very big pond.
And the initial sales were only about 6,000 copies.
6,000 people bought the first edition of the book that started the entire Alphabet series.
Yeah.
And if you, listening right now, have one of those original 6,000 copies, by the way, hold on to it. It's probably worth a fortune now.
Oh, absolutely. A mint condition first edition is a collector's holy grail.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was a very quiet launch, was not a blockbuster.
And what about the reviews? We have the receipts here. Let's look at what the critics actually said back in 1982.
It's a real mixed bag. Kirkus Reviews called it a shakily plotted but otherwise terrific start.
Shakily plotted. Ouch.
To be fair, the plot is complicated. The double oleander twist, the copycat element, it does require some sustention of disbelief, but they did praise the dialogue and her eye for people.
Okay, what about the New York Times? The paper of record.
The critic was Newgate Calendar, which is a fantastic name for a critic, by the way. Sounds like a character in the book.
It really does.
And he basically dismissed it. He called it Competent enough, but not particularly original.
Not particularly original. That hurts. I mean, she was flipping the gender dynamics of an entire genre.
It just shows that sometimes critics miss the forest for the trees. They saw the basic detective solves murder structure, and they thought, okay, we've seen this before. They completely missed the revolutionary nature of who was solving it. They missed the voice.
And the Library Journal.
Originally, they were really unenthusiastic. They called it nothing to take it out of the ordinary. Although they did admit that they liked the female detective character.
It's just fascinating to see how all these meh reviews completely missed the start of what would become a cultural phenomenon.
It happens all the time. Critics are there to analyze the mechanics, the plot holes, the pacing, but readers, they connect with the person. Readers fell in love with Kinsey Millhone. They didn't really care if the plot was a little shaky. They just wanted to hang out with her. They wanted to hear her voice. They wanted to see her eat a pickle sandwich and tell some guy to get lost.
And that voice is what carried the series for decades.
All the way from A to Y.
So let's wrap this up. We've gone all the way from a divorce-fueled fantasy to a 6,000-copy debut. We've covered embezzlement, 2 different kinds of poisonings, insurance fraud, and a barefoot beach shootout.
It's a lot for one book.
It is. And looking back, the legacy is just undeniable. Sue Grafton never made it to Z. She died before she could write it. But she left us with 25 novels that documented the life of this incredible, groundbreaking character.
And Y is, for Yesterday, her final book really brought things full circle in a powerful way. But A will always be special because it's the spark. It's the moment the engine started.
It's the origin point.
And it raises a really provocative thought to leave our listeners with.
What's that?
Think about the butterfly effect of that divorce we talked about at the very beginning. If Sue Grafton hadn't gone through that terrible separation, if she hadn't felt that specific murderous rage, if she hadn't needed to channel all that anger into creating Kinsey Millhone, would the landscape of modern mystery fiction look different today?
That is a wild thought. I mean, no Kinsey could mean maybe no V.I. Warshawski, no Case Carpetta.
Maybe. Maybe it would have taken another 10 years for women to really break into that hard-boiled space. It just goes to show sometimes the absolute worst moments in life, a divorce, the death of a father, they're what fuels the most enduring art. The pain becomes the page.
The pain becomes the page. I like that. We should put that on a t-shirt.
Maybe we should. But certainly in Sue Grafton's case, the pain became a legacy.
Well, thank you for taking this journey back to 1982 with us. Whether you're a longtime fan of Kinsey or you've never read a single page, I really hope this deep dive gave you a new appreciation for A is for Alibi.
It's always worth revisiting the classic.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you on the next deep dive.